Sports Talk. We'll have Matt Smith in the host seat all of next week. So make plans to join Smitty next week. He's lining up some excellent interviews and some excellent guests. In fact, on Monday, Lamont Paris, USC basketball coach, will be visiting with the media to update things on Gamecock summer practice. You know, these college basketball teams, they're working hard now in the summertime. They get official practice time, like 3 weeks they've been going at it. And he's going to visit with the media on Monday. So we'll have that for you Monday night on the show, along with other good stuff. Coach Jim Toman will be back to talk college baseball. We'll see if Texas A&M has a coach by then. There was reporting today, you know, with these internet these posts on X from various outlets. You have to kind of look at, well, I've already used the expression grain of salt, so I don't want to use grain of salt again. You have to kind of look at it with a cautious eye. How about that for a slogan? Because you don't know what's real, what's not real. Saw reporting that the coach from Dallas Baptist, and they've got a really good program there. The coach at Dallas Baptist was being targeted by Texas A&M, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I've seen that being shot down. Then rumor out there, the coach at Oklahoma was going to be the guy. That's being shot down. So Texas A&M is continuing to do its it seems like in this world of hiring coaches, the only people who are not in a hurry to get it done are the people who are trying to get it done. It's the people in the media, so-called media, people on X and various social media outlets. They want to push things ahead so quickly. But, you know, you got to take your time and make sure you get the right guy. And Trev Alberts, the new AD at Texas A&M, and he's not that long on the job there. It'll probably take him a little bit of time, I think, to find exactly who he wants, who's going to fit with him. And who is, you know, going to meet the parameters of what he's looking for as a new baseball coach at Texas A&M. So thus far, nothing has happened today as far as any kind of an announcement about a new baseball coach at Texas A&M, as that situation continues to linger out there. Let's see what else we got here from news notes for you on this Friday. And again, our phone number, we'll take some phone calls, 888-898-2525. How you can reach us here. Clemson infielder, this is a bit of a surprise. Clemson infielder Nolan Naraki is transferring. Matt Connolly from On3 reported that this morning. Pretty significant loss for the Tigers because Naraki become a major contributor for them this past season. But he has put his name into the transfer portal, John, according to Matt Connolly at On3. Naraki appeared in 36 games as a redshirt freshman. He made 34 starts. He hit .264. He hit 4 homers, 24 RBIs, and had 11 stolen bases. So a little bit of a surprise there. Meantime, the Tigers had their former pitcher, relief pitcher primarily, Billy Barlow, commit to the University of Florida. All right? So a lot of things happening in the transfer portal, John, for baseball, which I believe the window to put your name in the transfer portal, John, for baseball, that window closes, I believe it's on July the 2nd. What else we got for you? News out of Presbyterian that they have given their basketball coach, Quentin Farrell, a contract extension. So he's doing a good job there at PC, and they are appreciating what he is doing. And looking for details here, but I don't see in their post on X any details, just that he's gotten a contract extension. So he's going to be around for a little while. So that's a good thing for Presbyterian. Former USC basketball player Talon Cooper has agreed to an Exhibit 10 deal with the Orlando Magic. This, according to Stock Risers, he averaged 10 points and shot 48% from three for the Gamecocks this past season, was really the glue that kind of held that team together. Really did a great job as a point guard running Lamont Paris's offense. Now, I've not heard of this before, an Exhibit 10 deal. So I'm not exactly sure what that means in NBA lingo. I know the two-way contract thing where they sign you like P.J. Hall signed a two-way contract with Denver where they can send him down to their G League team and bring him back up, et cetera, depending on how things are going. But I've not heard of this Exhibit 10 deal. I'm going to look that up and find out exactly what it means. Disappointing news today from Dick Vitale. This poor man reported today he had a biopsy on a lymph node. He's been fighting cancer on and off for years. He had a biopsy on a lymph node from his neck, and it is cancerous. And so he's going to have more surgery on Tuesday. Obviously, he's hopeful, optimistic about success because every time he's had an issue with this, they've been able to get him healthy again. Hopefully that will be the case here. But this poor man has just been through the ringer when it comes to fighting cancer over and over again. It's a never-ending battle for him. Texas A&M announced that, and I'm bringing this up because it's an SEC team and kind of gives you some idea of how excited they are about Mike Elko and their new football head coach and program out there. They have sold out their season ticket allotment of more than 91,000 tickets. Wow. I don't know what the average price or what the price is for a season ticket at A&M. I'd like to look that up and see how much revenue that brings in from 91,000 tickets being sold. That includes 37,000 student season tickets. 37,000 student season tickets alone for Texas A&M. So they are excited and pumped up about what they've got going on there in College Station. Okay, our phone number, 888-898-2525. I think Pat has gotten himself organized back in the studio. Welcome back, friend.
Hey, it's good.
I speak too soon?
I was finishing up a conversation with old Gamecock Larry. He's waiting on deck to join us and didn't hear you calling me at first. But it's good to be back. Had to shake out the cobweb, shake off the rust a little bit at first,
yeah.
But we are all squared away and good to go.
Well, tell everybody what you've been doing.
Well, not something I ever necessarily thought I would be doing, but I have a different full-time job during the day running a roll-off dumpster company called Dumpster Plus, based here. We're based here in Columbia, but also operate out of Charleston and kind of the whole corridor going down 26 along with parts of 77. And it's been a lot, just trying to build up that business best I can. And it came to the point where I felt like I was racing straight from, I did it again today, raced straight from my office there to here, and afterwards I still have about an hour worth of work I need to do when I get home, and it just, every day I was going from about 7 a.m. until about 11 p.m. and was just wearing myself out. So I needed to step away from sports talk, but now things are starting to square away there a little bit better. I'd like to be back a little bit more part of the program come football season. So listeners out there, hope to hear and see more of you coming up soon. But I listen to the show every chance I get, sometimes in podcast form. Again, reminder, that's always available on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, X, and anywhere else you can find that. But you and Chris have been doing a fantastic job as always. Never had a doubt. And Joshua has done a tremendous job as the new producer. And Sports Talk has not skipped a beat. But it's good to be back.
It is. It's good to have you back. And you are part owner of this group. Let's let people know that you are in the employer side of things. So you got heavy interest in what you've got going on with Dumpster Plus, which of course. They were great advertisers with us when they got started. That's the unique situation where you've got a dumpster and a porta-john built inside the dumpster. That's what kind of makes it unique. And I've seen you guys are having great success because I've seen Dumpster Plus units all around Columbia.
Thank you. That's right. We actually, I won't say where you live, but we have had 3 in your neighborhood over the last month or so. So I bet you have driven right by a few of ours. and yeah, so we have that, and that goes back to the joke we like to play on the show about the the transfer portal, but it's the transfer portal, John, and that was in relation to this. And yeah, anybody, I am gonna give a free plug real quick. Don't pay me tonight, Phil. This is the payment. Feel free to give us a call any chance you can. 803-500-5094. Again, 803-500-5094. More than happy to help you with any dumpster needs you might need at a home remodel or a construction site or maybe a house cleanup or anything else you need. Would love to certainly help you any way we can.
All right, before we jump to phone calls, since you're back with us, and I know you're working hard and you're focused on your business and your hands are dirty and greasy and all that kind of stuff, but I know you and I know you're keeping up with the sports world. Give us and it's been a while since you've been with us, so I won't ask you to go all the way back in your memory banks, but give us the 3 most recent sports items on your mind in the state or outside the state that kind of weigh heavily on you right now.
Well, the most recent, and this is going to kind of go in reverse order here in terms of time. How about Devin Carter? I mean, I'm sure y'all talked about this last night, but former Gamecock basketball player Devin Carter going number 13 overall to the Sacramento Kings in the NBA draft. And it's just one of those where this happened. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Phil. I believe I have my timeline correct. He left after the departure of Frank Martin. Correct. And so before Lamont Paris came in. Now, again, obviously Gamecock fans out there have to be just more than thrilled. You have gotten a spectacular coach in Lamont Paris, and it seems like the sky is the limit. And now that the Gamecocks have invested in him in the long haul, in the long term, seems like the Gamecocks are only going to continue to get better. And you guys might be having the new powerhouse, potentially, program like we used to see from UConn, where both the men and women, or I guess they still are, the men and women's programs are both national title contenders, or at least conference title contenders year in and year out. And it certainly seems like Coach Paris has the Gamecocks trending in that direction. But Devin Carter, you cannot help but wonder what this Gamecock program would have been the last 2 years with him if he had stayed in Columbia as opposed to playing for the Friars up at Providence. But he sure turned into an offensive weapon up there, something that I don't want to say he didn't have because he didn't really get the minutes as a true freshman. He was freshman All-SEC, but now that he actually became more the offensive focal point at Providence, we knew how good of a defender he was, but now he really added that offense to his repertoire and seems to have found himself a nice landing spot where he's got an immediate chance to get some minutes in Sacramento alongside De'Aaron Fox or behind him. And then the next thing I would go to is just talking about the baseball programs and about now kind of the next reset at here in Columbia with USC. And again, I have not followed this as closely as I'm sure you and Chris have been able to, but so maybe we can fill in a little bit more of the gap tonight. But curious to see what this next step is. And now Ray Tanner hiring another coach to come in here to Columbia and just seeing what the Gamecock program, if they can finally kind of, not that they've been bad, not that they were bad, but they just have not quite lived up to the lofty expectations that Coach Tanner built during his time, where he just built a national title contender powerhouse year in and year out. Curious to see what happens with the Gamecock program moving forward. And then also Eric Bakich up at Clemson. I know a lot of Clemson fans out there. A lot of my friends would reach out to me and thought that they were worried that he was leaving to go to Texas. So the moment that he released a statement saying he was staying in Clemson, and then also that Texas hired former Texas A&M coach, which I don't quite understand, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. The fact that he went to Texas, I think, was a very large sigh of relief that probably could be heard around the state from Clemson fans, because now they will retain Eric Bakich, who seems to be getting the Tigers back into the right direction up in Tiger Town. And then a third story here. I got to go. It might not be in-state, but you're Boston Celtics. Just got to congratulate you there. I lived up in New England for 6 years, but I never did quite adopt the Celtics. Went to a few games, but I am a lifelong suffering Charlotte sports fans, along with the Atlanta Braves. But the Charlotte Hornets and then the Carolina Panthers. And I just, at this point, I pull more for players than teams just because my team has been terrible ever since the 90s, and that's the Charlotte Hornets. Maybe 1 or 2 good years there with Kemba Walker. But the draft did not exactly excite me for the future of the Hornets, but I am excited for you and for your Boston Celtics. Great job all around by your team, and they sure have a powerhouse coming back again next year and will likely be one of the favorites to repeat.
I would say so. I think they'll be the odds-on favorite to go back-to-back, and you just wonder after winning a championship what the motivation is for those for those players. I think the motivation for them has to be the uniqueness of going back-to-back. Teams don't go back-to-back in the NBA like they did many years ago. So that might be the driving force. Of course, they're going to be without Porzingis for about 5 or 6 months, so he will not be ready when the season starts. So what did you think of, and this became news after the draft. You know, there was Filipowski sitting there in the green room through the entire first round, thought he was going to be a first rounder. Why wouldn't Kyle Filipowski be a first rounder? He's a terrific player. Long, lean, can shoot the three, can block a shot, can handle, can rebound, can do everything. And everybody passed on him until the Jazz early in the second round. Then the story comes out about his personal life. Oh, and I'm sure you have read this. And his girlfriend and all. I'm not going to get into it because I don't believe in talking about somebody's personal life as long as there's nothing illegal going on that we know of. But the belief is that teams were scared away because of this, his issues with that or his situation with that, and apparently he is not communicating with his family. They've kind of broken apart. So why would NBA teams pass on a player of that talent and that skill set because of that? I just don't get it. I don't know why so many teams. In fact, when I think about the Celtics, I'm like, man, Filipowski would have fit in great in the Celtics scheme, and even they passed on him. So I don't get that. Were you following that much at all?
A little bit, and I'm familiarizing myself a bit more in the background when you were talking. It seems like the family was very concerned. They used the word grooming, which I hesitate to use other than the fact that this is written about 15 times in this article. Apparently they started dating when he was in high school. The family thinks that she purposely, I guess, tried to disconnect him from his family and loved ones and chase his money, I guess. And I'm with you. I don't necessarily want to get involved or like to get involved with the personal life. But the fact that this was a big enough story or red flag that it scared teams away, I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. I'll be honest. That seems I'm not quite sure what to think about that. I guess she's about a decade older.
No, she's only
she's 28.
4 years older now.
Oh, I didn't realize he was 24. Okay, well then that doesn't sound like a big deal.
Well, or 6 years, maybe 6 years older. But I mean, I think people might have had an issue with. Like, she went to his prom with him, which I guess, when you're a 17-year-old and you're dating a 25-year-old, I guess, I don't know. I can't explain it. Everybody's got their own standards when it comes to this thing. I mean, look, if you're 50 years old and you're married to a 42-year-old, nobody says boo about it. But I guess when you're younger like that, and I guess as a parent, if my son or daughter was dating somebody 8 years older than them when they were like in high school, I probably would have a little bit of an issue with that as well. As I'm sitting on my front porch cleaning my gun, when the person drives up for the date. So yeah, but this is the NBA, man. This is billion-dollar business, and they usually these leagues, unless you've done something illegal or immoral, I don't think that falls into the category here. They usually are willing to take you if you're a great talent, and I think Filipowski is a great talent. So
yeah, and I'll tell you what, Phil, too, right there, and not to jump in on you, but the Utah Jazz found themselves, I don't want to say diamond in the rough, but they almost got a bit of a steal there. I mean, now you're teaming him up with former Auburn and North Carolina center Walker Kessler. He played at North Carolina, didn't he? Yeah, North Carolina. And
started out there, yeah.
That's right. So team him up with Walker Kessler, and then I'm seeing reports here that Armando Bacot, star center for North Carolina Tar Heels, who went undrafted, he has also signed a contract with the Utah Jazz. Whatever an Exhibit 10 contract is, I'm not very familiar with that.
Yeah, I was just talking about that with Cooper from South Carolina signing an Exhibit 10 contract with Orlando.
Yeah, well, either way, then, so that's quite a coup of big guys now for the Utah Jazz. They might be starting to play a bit more inside now, which we don't see often in the NBA these days, but that's quite a collection of big men.
Tell you what, I think Filipowski is going to do great in Utah. Funny that he ended up in Utah because this is a Mormon situation that they're talking about, and that's where he Obviously, Utah didn't have a problem with it for obvious reasons. Okay, we'll hit the break. Got phone calls and more coming up. Don't go away.
By our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We're muggy tonight on low temp dipping to 75. Tomorrow the humidity continues. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, 95 the high. There's a 40% chance we get afternoon showers. Sunday is blazing hot, very humid, a high again 95, but the heat index gives us a feels like temp of 113. Famously hot indeed. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the Supreme Court rejected a 40-year-old legal doctrine colloquially known as Chevron, effectively reducing the power of executive branch agencies like the Environmental Protection Agency and shifting it to the courts. The doctrine has been the basis for upholding thousands of federal regulations, but it has long been targeted by conservatives and business groups who argue it grants too much executive branch. The Supreme Court has just 4 undecided cases left on its docket. In particular, the justices are still weighing whether former President Trump is immune from criminal prosecution in the election interference case against him roughly 2 months after hearing arguments. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 45 points, the Nasdaq dropped 126, the S&P 500 lower by 22. More details at srnnews.com.
You hear about all these tax credits available for getting solar power for your home or your business, and yeah, they're pretty awesome. But what about your church? Yeah. What about your nonprofit? How can you benefit from tax credits if you don't pay taxes? Well, now there's a great program in place for nonprofits. Think about that. Your church still has a pretty big power bill, right? What about taking control, saving that church money every single month by using solar power from Broker Solar? Installation rebates, tremendous savings. Bet you've never even thought about it. Maybe it's time to talk about it at your church or your nonprofit. Broker Solar has all the answers. Ken and his team know every program, every opportunity for your home, your business, and yes, your nonprofit. So you can save dollars, get rebates, get government credits. Isn't it worth looking into? Online, it's brokersolar.com, or give Ken a call, 807-7417 at Broker Solar. That's 807-7417, and tell them Kev sent you.
Breathe fresh life into your home with Lake Murray Soft Wash. Our team specializes in power washing, soft washing, and restoration. From roof cleaning to wood and concrete wash downs, we've got you covered. For top-notch, affordable services that you can trust, call now. 528-1996 or log on to LakeMurraySoftWash.com to make an appointment. We're not just professionals, we're your neighbors. Whether residential or commercial, Lake Murray Soft Wash sets the standard in cleaning. Embrace the sparkling difference today.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
As we celebrate 10 fantastic years at Sweet Comfort Services, we're cooling you off with unbeatable deals on all SEER 2 and high-efficiency AC equipment. Hey, Point family, mention this ad and get a thorough spring maintenance check from our expert non-commissioned techs for just $95 for your first system and a chill $45 each additional system. Look us up at sweethvac.com or call us at 331-8143. Celebrating a decade of keeping you cool and comfy. That's the Sweet Comfort promise.
Pardon me, ma'am. Are you interested in lowering your energy usage and saving money?
Make it quick.
Did you know that Dominion Energy offers heating and cooling rebates up to $750?
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. And it comes in handy if your system fails and you need a replacement.
Any restrictions?
For starters, your new equipment must be Energy Star qualified.
That's a good thing.
Go to DominionEnergySC.com and click Save Energy.
DominionEnergySC.com it is. Thanks for the tip.
Certain restrictions apply.
We are back on Sports Talk, Friday edition from up in Chicago and also back in Columbia. Phil Kornblut here and Pat Daniel there. Phone number 888-898-2525. We got recruiting coming up for you. We've got Jeff Owens on NASCAR coming up for you. George Bryan on golf coming up for you as well. And we take some phone calls, 888-898-2525. We'll get to those in just a second. Want to remind you with the weekend coming up, everybody's thinking about getting away, getting far, far away from things. No better place to get away to than the beaches of South Carolina, Pawleys Island, Litchfield, Garden City, Surfside, Myrtle, all up and down that part of South Carolina. You're looking for a great place to stay, be it a condo or a house or something else, something for short term, something for long term. Make sure you call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate, and that phone number is 843-237-4246. Write that number down. Give them a call as soon as you can. 843-237-4246 or online at PawleysVacationRentals.com. Jimmy and the staff will take care of your needs and find what you're looking for at the budget that you need. Again, 843-237-4246 for your perfect beach getaway. James Smith Real Estate, PawleysVacationRentals.com. We go to the phones, Pat. Let's see who we can stir up tonight. I think we're going to go to Gamecock Larry. First up tonight. And Gamecock Larry, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Glad to have Pat back. I miss him, but I want to make sure that Tiger Bryan, I want Tiger Bryan to hear what I got to say.
He's listening.
Now, Mr. Field, have you heard anything on this Texas A&M coaching research?
Well, I mentioned if you were listening to the show, Larry.
Okay.
I mentioned what's been talked about today out there. Dallas Baptist coach, yes or maybe no. Oklahoma coach, probably not. Virginia coach, definitely not. And those are the names that I have heard or read about most recently. So I think the search continues.
Well, let me tell you who is going to be the new Aggie coach. Say by Tuesday afternoon, 3 o'clock, before 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, you will know who the new Aggie coach is. It's not going to be the guy from Kentucky. It's not going to be the guy from Dallas Baptist. It's not going to be the guy from Tennessee. But it's going to be somebody close and dear to your heart. Backus is on the way to be a Aggie. He's going to leave old Jack behind. And Jack, you done run off, got a coach fired, only had one losing season. Now you're going to lose another coach because he's scared what you're going to do. Sitting on the bench next to him, he don't want you to run out on the field and get another 2 game suspension.
Larry,
yes, sir.
Larry,
yeah.
if
yes,
Eric
sir.
Package, On Tuesday, if Eric Bakich is named the new coach at Texas A&M, okay, like you said, Tuesday, Eric Bakich, if that happens, Pat and I will come over to your house and we will give you a massage in your birthday suit, in your jacuzzi, okay? I mean, we're going to really...
Sir, Phil, give me one more minute. I didn't say they was going to announce it Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I said before Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock.
I'm not going to hold you to the timeline, but I will hold you to the individual. All right?
Okay,
That's how
so
certain I am that you are wrong, because there would be nothing more disgusting to me than to give you a massage in your birthday suit, okay? That would be very nauseating to me.
Okay, so all you on Pat, I'm glad to have you back. Everybody have a good weekend. It's going to be kind of a dead weekend, but make sure you go to church on Sunday.
Yes, sir.
I'm going. You go to yours. I go to mine, and we'll be back Monday afternoon on the line. Go back at Aggie.
See you soon, Larry.
He'll be Smitty's problem next week, Pat. Don't you worry. We'll let Smitty deal with Gamecock Larry next week. He's been beating that drum ever since this happened, and Eric Bakich isn't going anywhere. I imagine that Clemson's probably working on some kind of a new compensation deal for him coming off the season they had, and he's got some good recruiting going on. He's getting some good transfers coming in. I think they're going to continue to look at doing some stuff at Doug Kingsmore Stadium to keep evolving there and keep it as a first-class baseball facility. So he's not going anywhere. He might be one of those 25-year lifers coaching baseball at Clemson.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that was part of the plan in bringing him in was I do believe that now obviously things can change, but I do think that Clemson was trying to bring in a coach that would stay for a long time, similar to what they had with Jack Leggett. And I think that was probably the plan with Monty Lee as well. I mean, let's face it, I don't think anybody goes out there, or for the most part, teams don't go out there looking for just a little in-between coach to be there for a couple of years. That does happen every now and then, but you got to think Eric Bakich. One thing also about him, and another reason why I think he would stay as long as he would was, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Clemson gave him his first ever shot back in 2002 when he was an assistant under Jack Leggett. And so that was where he got his start. Now, he was only there, I believe, for 1 year before he then went with Corbin to Vanderbilt, where he was for, 7, 8 years, give or take. But still, people always remember your first. And you can take that whatever way you want. People remember their first of anything in life. And your first coaching opportunity, that's something that's special. So it almost feels like a full circle moment for Bakich to now be able to come back and be the head coach at the same school that gave him his first shot. I would think there's a sense of loyalty there as well from both sides. And I have a very hard time believing he would go anywhere.
So I know you were probably watching the baseball championship game Monday night, and then maybe you caught that press conference afterwards. And, of course, Jim Schlossnagle, who's a highly respected guy. There's no question about it. Nobody has ever said a negative thing about Jim Schlossnagle. Even when he went from TCU to Texas A&M, that was an understood move. I mean, it's Texas A&M. You're moving up from TCU. But the way he handled, I don't know, Pat, that I've ever seen a situation handled worse than he handled that situation Monday night, answering the question about the Texas job, because he just flat out lied to people. And then he continued to lie when he got to Austin and had his press conference there. I don't think he learned that one big lie leading to another is not a good thing. You can't cover up one big lie with another big lie. And I don't know the individual, only know his reputation. I was just taken back by the way he mishandled this whole deal. He should have just, as a veteran coach, a guy who's been around for a while, when that question was tossed at him, and A, he should have anticipated that question coming, and B, he should have just sidestepped it and said, look, we're just coming off the national championship loss, tough night. I want to be with my players and family, and we'll talk about the future in the future, but that now is not the time. I think everybody would have understood that and given him some space. I think he really tarnished himself. He'll get over it. He'll probably go to Texas and do great, and eventually this will be forgotten about. But that was a case where a very highly regarded individual just was not thinking as he responded to a question.
Yeah, and just in the day and age where we see coaches leaving for the next big paycheck, we see players now via the portal in NIL leaving for the next big paycheck or big opportunity. I don't want to make it just money, and same with coaches.
Yeah.
Trust has to be built, especially in college more than the professional ranks, where you as a coach need to be able, recruiting. You have to be able to walk into the homes of high school kids and be able to convince not only those young men and women, but also their parents that you are going to act, now I'm not saying a quote-unquote father figure or motherly figure, but a mentor type in this young person's development in hopes that they can either become a better man or woman or just an adult or maybe a professional athlete, whatever. There has to be a sense of trust there. And I just think with the quote of what he said, what was it? Well, I did just have it in front of me. Either way, what he said that he was not leaving. I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again. And that's just the brief part of it.
Yeah.
If you're a family of a recruit out there, or you are a young man trying to play for his team, or you're a member of his current team or the current administration now at Texas that has hired him, how can you trust him? How can you trust him that he will be there? If you're a freshman in high school, that he'll be there in 4 years by the time you come to play. Or even an incoming freshman, that he'll be there for the 3 years that you'll be there until you ultimately hope to try to leave for the draft, or 4 or 5 years, or however long you play. I just don't understand how you can possibly trust a man like that now if he's so willing to flip-flop in the span of 24 hours. It wasn't like this was from 1 year to the next where maybe there were some extenuating circumstances that happened along the way. This was 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And for him to just completely flip-flop like that, I would lose all faith in him. I don't think I'd be able to play for him or work with somebody like that, just point blank.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think they'll get over it. I think that he'll still be able to get big-time players because it's Texas.
Sure.
Because it's Texas, and it's an alluring program. People want to go play at Texas, and and he'll win at Texas. He's too good of a coach. He won big at TCU. He won big and was gonna continue to win big at Texas A&M, and he'll win big at Texas, no question about it. And eventually this will go away, but it will always be in the background. But he's not going to go anywhere else. I mean, I expect him.
Right.
He's in his 50s. You probably expect him to coach 15 years or so at Texas and then hang it up. He won't have to worry about any more job interviews or anything like that. That's not going to hamper him moving forward. But his reputation, I think, did take a pop from the way he handled this thing.
Now, with that, Phil, one last word, too, and I may be in the minority here, but
that's okay.
I remember talking with Smitty about this off air right after it happened. Right now, I'm not saying historically, right now, today, and I realize programs can change, was this, aside from the money, was this even a step up? Or at this point, was Texas A&M, which was the better program? I know maybe I'm viewing this through too tight of a lens and just through one season, but Texas is not the same Texas that we're accustomed to as a baseball program. Yes, they have the facilities. Yes, they have the deep pockets, but so does Texas A&M. Uh-huh. Texas A&M is already established now in the SEC. They're used to that competition. Texas is not. Now, I'm not saying that they won't immediately, and he will not find success there, but was this even a step up, or was this more of a lateral move?
Well, I mean, again, you have to look at the personalities involved here, and I think a big part of it had to do with, or maybe the biggest part of it had to do with the fact that the AD at Texas is his very close friend.
Got it.
And A&M has a new AD, Trev Alberts, and from what I read from a post, if I can trust it or not, I don't know, but I believe that Schlossnagel was on the committee looking for the new AD at A&M, and was not in favor of Alberts being the guy from what I read. So, I mean, I don't know if that became a point of contention between the two or they just, but as he said at his press conference when he got to Austin, he trusts no one in the business more than he trusts Del Conte. And maybe that's a slap at who he had at A&M and who's coming in. or maybe he's just being bluntly honest there. But these two are very, very close. And you know what? You want to work for people who you're going to feel secure about, who's going to and people who are going to have your back. And I think that's kind of how he felt. So even though he turned his back on his program and his players, and did so, I think in a clandestine way, whereas this had to be going on while they were playing. I mean, I had information last night from a friend who knows the college athletic background that they've been talking for weeks, and obviously they had to be talking for weeks. You just don't make that move within 12 hours. I mean, you're coaching Texas A&M in Omaha for the national championship on a Monday night, and then by Tuesday you're the head coach at Texas, and by Wednesday you're in Austin setting up your office. You just don't do that out of the blue. And not only that, you're taking your assistant coaches with you. They had to be forewarned about all this. This just can't happen in a 10 or 12 hour period. Too many things that you have to consider contract wise and get approved. So,
well, Phil, with that, then, do you think that if A&M had beaten Tennessee and won the national championship, do you think he still would have left? Because I can't think of an example off the top of my head where we see national championship winning head coaches in any sport leave, unless maybe it's to go to the professional ranks.
Yeah, seems to me like he was gone no matter what.
Wow.
Yeah, because this deal was done.
Right, had to be.
This deal was done, so he didn't know what the outcome was going to be of the season, but I think his feeling was for the long term of my career and my family support, I'm going to be better off at Texas with my good friend than I am here at Texas A&M with somebody I don't know as the AD. That had to be his thinking. So as ugly as it was and as poorly handled as it was, as messy as it was, I think he feels like he's in a better place. And that's what he said. He said, look, I have to look out for my personal well-being and my professional well-being. And I think he feels like as long as Del Conte is the AD there at Texas, he's got somebody who's going to have his back. Okay, we got to hit the break, Pat, and we'll be back in just a moment. The phone number, 888-898-2525. You want to join in? We've got recruiting coming up for you here in a little bit. We will hear from Jeff Owens on the NASCAR side of things, taking a look at the race this weekend in Nashville. Hopefully weather won't be a problem, but I think weather could be a problem. I do not believe they have the rain tires with them in Nashville. So we got that and George Bryan coming up too, and we'll be back.
Calling all turkey hunters, this is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Turkey season is coming soon. The most common accident while turkey hunting is failing to identify your target. Know the identifying features of a turkey. Make sure of your target and what lies beyond it before you pull the trigger. Remember, safe hunting is no accident. For more information on hunter education, visit dnr.sc.gov.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, get 6.99% APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. Not a Founders member yet? Founders has the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1644 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership qualification required.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Pat gets to choose the bumpers. Now that he's the big cheese back in the studio.
That's right. Love me some Hootie.
Oldie but goodie. All right, phone number 888-898-2525. That is a South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Recruiting coming up after the top of the hour break. Also, Jeff Owens on NASCAR, George Bryan on the golf scene. Let me update a few other top stories today. Word out of, speaking of TCU, the first to announce it will pay players maximum allowed in the new revenue sharing. Their AD said that we'll be prepared for the challenges and opportunities it will bring. Many questions, however, do remain, and we will need time to work out many details. All right, so that's going to see more and more schools fall in line with that, I'm sure. And see what else that we had here of interest. Looks like that, it's going to take a while. Don't be checking your bank account or your P.O. box every day to get your check from the NFL on the Sunday ticket deal. Looks like it's going to work out. Once it goes through all the appeals, it's going to be a lot of appeals. The NFL plans on tying this up in the appeal portion of the court system for some time. But if it all works out and there's any money left over, the individuals who are in the class action lawsuit, and I don't know if you had to sign any paperwork or just what, or if you happen to be a subscriber to DirecTV and a subscriber to the Sunday ticket, that you're automatically in there. I don't know. But you're going to get about $2,000. The individual subscriber is going to get about $2,000 as it stands right now. We'll see how much money's left over after the attorney fees are paid and all the appeals are heard. But $2,000 popping up in your mailbox one day in the future would not be such a bad thing. And hopefully they're going to get the Sunday ticket worked out. I still don't know what the I don't know if you followed this or not, Pat. I don't know what the issue was, what the NFL did wrong here, if it was some sort of price manipulation or just what, that they lost on here. But they certainly did. It's going to cost them a bunch of money, billions of dollars.
I have not followed that very closely. I do apologize. I'm not sure I have much to add. But once you do finish your thoughts there, I've got another little story here to mention before the break.
All right. One other note here. Wake Forest AD John Curry, he received a long-term contract extension, so he'll be hanging there. All right, what you got?
Well, you mentioned earlier that both P.J. Hall had agreed to terms with the Nuggets, and now Talon Cooper signed a summer league deal as well. Well, now I'm seeing here that former Syracuse and then former Clemson guard, I don't believe we've mentioned this yet, Joe Girard III has signed a summer league deal with the Toronto Raptors. So it looks like he'll be playing for the Raptors in summer league, trying to catch on to a contract there as well. And then also former Clemson and now former Florida left-handed pitcher Cade Fisher is back in the portal again. And remember, he is a South Carolina native. So curious to see if maybe he comes back closer to home to be an interesting pickup for the Gamecocks, the Tigers, the Chanticleers, or any other in-state, any other one of our many really good in-state baseball programs.
That's an excellent point. That guy's a hard thrower too.
Sure is.
He's one of those Florida pitchers that hits the mid-90s. One other note here on Schlossnagle and his new contract, the money he'll make at Texas, from what I'm reading here, he is likely to double his salary at Texas, up to about $3 million a year.
Wow!
And in fact, actually, it turned out to be $3.8 million, according to this report. And his assistants will become the highest paid in college baseball history. So Monty Lee, if I'm not mistaken, when they bumped Monty Lee up to $500,000 a year, they said that he became the highest paid assistant coach in college baseball. But now, I don't know what these assistants are going to make at A&M, but according to this report, their assistant coaches stand to become the highest paid in college baseball history. I don't know if that means as a group or perhaps individually. I haven't seen details. Okay, top of the hour. We'll be back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Thursday night's presidential debate is over, and most analysts believe President Biden performed poorly against former President Trump. Correspondent Josh Boak reports President Biden's debate performance was disappointing and underwhelming to many Democrats.
Immediately after his lackluster performance, where he struggled at times to say what he had done in ways that people could understand, Democrats were saying, is this 81-year-old the right person to be at the top of the ticket? And you're seeing a lot of hand-wringing by candidates, by pundits, and by many voters who want someone who can fight for them and pose a real challenge to Donald Trump.
Meanwhile, the former president was on the campaign trail in Virginia today. He says he's a better candidate for president than Joe Biden.
This election is a choice between strength and weakness, competence and incompetence, peace and prosperity, or war or no war. They like a war. They love wars. You know, they love killing people. It's so wonderful.
The Supreme Court has overturned a 1984 decision known as Chevron that will weaken the power of federal regulators.
Experts say overturning the Chevron decision in a case filed by herring fishermen in New Jersey and Rhode Island who objected to paying monitors' fees brings a far-reaching and potentially lucrative victory to business interests who've long sought to eliminate the power of government agencies. Chevron allowed federal experts to fill in the blanks if a law wasn't crystal clear, but the majority of justices agreed with the plaintiffs that should be determined by a judge. I'm Jackie Quinn.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 45 points. The Nasdaq dropped 126. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states. Now.
Iowa's Supreme Court tells the lower court to let a strict abortion law go into effect. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
Iowa's top court has reversed a lower court ruling that put a temporary block on the state's strict abortion law, which means the law will now take effect. In a 4-3 ruling, the state Supreme Court told the lower court to dissolve the temporary injunction and continue with further proceedings. The new law bans most abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. Iowa joins more than a dozen other states with restrictive abortion laws following the U.S. Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022. I'm Shirley Adler.
The head of the National Mine Workers Union is condemning an effort by House Republicans to block enforcement of a long-awaited federal rule directed at curbing workers' exposure to deadly rock dust. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We're muggy tonight, a low temp dipping to 75. Tomorrow the humidity continues. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, 95 the high. There's a 40% chance we get afternoon showers. Sunday is blazing hot, very humid, a high again, 95, but the heat index gives us a feels like temp of 113. Famously hot indeed. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Please press button now. I said to, genius.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back with you. Sports Talk Media Network. Hour number 2 on this Friday night. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut here in Chicago. Pat Daniel with us from our studios in Columbia. And our phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to reach us here on Sports Talk. Recruiting coming up just a moment. Let's go to Rocky in Greenville. Kind enough to join us on this Friday night. Rock, what's going on? Good to have you with us.
Hey there, Phil.
Yes,
good
sir.
to talk to you.
You too.
Couple of things. First, on Schlossnagel. I just chuckled. I think Schlossnagel might benefit by going to the Crash Daily School of how to talk to the media.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Just to, yeah. I mean, I don't want to get it. I mean, everybody's talked about it ad nauseum, but I was going to call you the other day when the NBA draft was going on, and that's actually why I want to really call. I got some thoughts on that.
Sure.
And I saw something this morning early. They were in the Sports Center, and out of the first 2 rounds of the draft, 20 players out of, you're talking about 1/3 of what 60-something players that are drafted, given the number of teams.
I think it was 58. I think there were a total of 58 taken. Yeah, if I remember correctly.
20 players that were drafted are not from the United States. Now, that does not mean they may not have played college basketball in the United States, but they are not from here.
Mm-hmm.
They are international, dare we call it, okay, players. And it is so much different. You're a little bit older than me, but I'm old enough. I mean, the international players, they're not going away, and it really does affect the number of there's 300-something Division I college basketball teams, and there are only 2 rounds, and there are only about 15 players that can make a roster, or 15, 12, I don't know what, but the bottom line was they're affecting the number of the college basketball players that are taken in the draft, and it just is a natural thing. But as far as the draft goes, and maybe you can look at this, the only first round is the only round where these players, where they're drafted, there's a guaranteed type of slotted money. After that, it's not guaranteed. So my point is, unless you just got a side thing like Harrison drafted from North Carolina in the 2nd round, he's going to make a roster, and he may have something already. Because he's just that good of a player. But there's P.J. Hall's side. It wasn't an hour. You reported it last night. It wasn't an hour before the draft was over, and he had already signed a 2-way deal. And so there's really no difference between, Bonnie James drafted in the 2nd round. There's no difference being drafted in the 2nd round and not being drafted at all, because there's no guarantees there. It's just, so the NBA, with their rosters, and the last thing I'll say is, I can guarantee you most rosters, half of them, whatever, is it 12, 15, half each NBA roster, I can guarantee you they weren't drafted. I can bet they weren't drafted players. They were players that came on as free agents and worked their way in. And there's just that many good basketball players, Phil.
Yeah.
It's tough to get there, you know?
I agree with you, and I think that, like the case of P.J. Hall, I think he'll stick with Denver. I mean, I'm just making a long-term projection here, but you see enough of a guy, I think he'll have an excellent chance to stick with Denver with his overall game. And you're right, you do see NBA teams taking chances or making reaches for free agent type players, and these players, they find their role on a team. You know, once you get past your top 7 on an NBA roster that they're going to play the majority of the minutes, and those are your elite players, then it's role players, you know, and you might need a guy to come in and just spell a point guard for 10 or 12 minutes a game, or you just might need a backup center to play 10 or 15 minutes a game, and oftentimes those come off the free agent market. So you're right, and the international flavor, of course, I mean, look at the lottery picks. I don't know how many of them were international players, but a bunch of them were. I think, I know the first pick was from France. I think maybe the first couple of picks came out of France. I didn't realize.
In the top 6.
Yeah, I can't believe when did France become a manufacturer of basketball talent? But they certainly have. Wembanyama, of course, from last year, he came from France, right? Yeah, he was from Paris, I think. So, yeah, you're right. The free agency in the NBA is, you know, it's still a tough route because, like you said, the first rounders are pretty much guaranteed contracts and spots on the team. It's the second rounders and the free agents who really have to get in there and carve a niche out for themselves.
Yeah, and the last thing, and as you say, it's the two-way player. This is the way the NBA teams can save him some money. You can bring these guys in like P.J. Hall, is two-way player. He'll go down to the G League, and they've not really, from a financial standpoint, the team, and then, okay, we won't break. PJ's doing really good. We'll bring him up for 30 days. Put him on the roster. Guess what? He gets NBA money for 30 days, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, because of the way they pay. So, that's a way because your top guys, I wouldn't even say 7, Phil. I may say 3 teams, 3 people per NBA team are making a boatload of money. And I'm talking, you know, put all the zeros behind it you want to. And then that's where you work it down. I mean, you got 50 million a year players, and then you got you know, basketball, it doesn't, I mean, you're playing with 5 to 7 to 8 players. That's what's going to win for you. That's your depth. And then, well, you would hope no injuries, but yeah, I mean, you're fielding a smaller roster in the basketball world than you do in the football world, but so you're able to pay more players more. And then, but it's very interesting how they work these two-way rosters up and down and up and down. But anyway, those are my comments. Phil,
thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Good phone call. Little NBA draft talk. That's kind of foreign language to us here on Sports Talk. But the thing about like a P.J. Hall in a two-way contract, yeah, you get called up to the big team for, say, a 30-day period of time, and you get a chance to show off your talents. Somebody else will pick you up, you know, or maybe you'll be, you know, if they realize you're not going to actually be a long-term answer for them, but they can package you in a deal. I think of Aaron Nesmith. Now, he was not. Aaron Nesmith was a first-round draft pick of the Celtics, but he never could find his place with the Celtics. They ended up trading him to the Pacers, and now, like, he's becoming a star. I'm not going to say superstar, but he's becoming a major contributor and a big-time player in the NBA. I think he's just starting to reach his potential. So he just needed, he got his break because of a trade. In P.J. Hall's case, maybe he'll stick with the Nuggets. Maybe he'll play some enough to where another team will see him. They'll work out some kind of a trade, and he can find a home somewhere.
And don't forget, Phil, too, that P.J. Hall is now going to reunite with his former Tiger teammate Hunter Tyson with the Nuggets. I don't believe I heard y'all mention that. So, I mean, he'll have a little bit of familiarity there. And the Nuggets to this point have shown a proven track record where they kind of buck the trend on what the analysts on ESPN or other networks or NBA.com say. Like I don't have this in front of me, but But whom they drafted this year in the draft that they traded up to take, I believe at number 22 overall, was rated to be a late second round pick. And they have Nikola Jokic was not highly regarded when he was drafted. Like the Hunter Tyson was drafted ahead of where he was projected. The Nuggets to this, I believe I have that right. The Nuggets to this point have kind of proven where they target certain players that they think can fit in their system. And I don't think anybody out there necessarily throws a dart at a board too much, but the Nuggets really don't seem to do that. They really focus on who they want and think can fit in. And I don't think they would just sign P.J. Hall if they did not think that he would be a good fit and a good potential backup to Nikola Jokic on that roster.
Well, and you're right. It's just kind of freaky to me that two first-team All-ACC players, Filipowski and Hall, one goes in the second round and the other has to go as a free agent. That's just strange to me. Okay, let's get to the recruiting. And Pat, since you've been gone, Josh has put together a new recruiting report billboard for us, if you want to hit it.
Right now, here we go.
All right.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Yeah, how you like that?
I like it a lot, but does that mean you guys? Well, he doesn't like to read the menu, I guess. Do y'all?
No,
y'all not talk about gravy anymore?
No. He loves to do the menu.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that comes up in just a second when I say our report is brought to you by Seawell's, where, of course, they have the daily luncheon buffet, Pat. Now, of course, today's Friday, so it's over for the week. Next week, if you've got the menu in front of us, I don't know if they've got their schedule out for next week because it's a holiday week.
I see it right here. They do not have the schedule out yet, but I would think it's safe to assume that they will be closed on the 4th. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I would guess that that's the case. They do not have the menu yet. We'll make sure to bring you that on Monday. Typically, I believe they come out with the following week's menu on Sunday, but I'm sure it was great today as always. Today was actually not a roast beef Friday. Looking at the menu from today, they mixed things up a little bit, which I wonder if that means there might not be a roast beef Monday in the near future.
You want to give a shout out to the gravy real quick?
Love the gravy. I'll slather it on anything and everything they put in front of you on the plate. I don't believe this was actually in response to how much I like gravy, but I will acknowledge at some point in the not too distant past, Seawells went from having a bowl of gravy to a giant platter of gravy to now 2 entire trays on the buffet of gravy. we certainly like our gravy here on Sports Talk.
Yes, we do. And don't forget, for the very best of the catering business, all you got to do is call Seawells, 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So let's talk about offensive tackle Hardy Watts. Clemson has 3 offensive linemen committed. They're hoping to land him as a 4th, 6'6", 285, out of Brookline, Massachusetts. He's announcing his decision from the Tigers, Wisconsin, and Michigan. That will be at noon on July 1st, ceremony at his school. He plans on thinking things over here. He's kept an open mind as he's gone through his official visits. No favorite coming out of his last official, which was to Michigan last weekend. Made his visit to Clemson in early June. He's kept in touch with Matt Luke since then. They've told him what a priority he is. And he said the message from them was definitely received because they've told him how much they want him in the program. He's looking for a place where he can be developed. He said the development piece is important to him, as well as the culture and the environment, a winning environment, and the relationship that he has built with the staff. Those are all very important to him. Clemson looking at Tate Reynolds for their 2016 quarterback target now. He has officially decommitted from baseball at Arizona State, so now he's focused totally on finding a football home and maybe doubling up to play baseball. He's a highly thought-of baseball recruit as well. He recently visited Clemson, and the Tigers offered him after seeing him work out in their camp. He's got about 20 offers total, a lot of big-timers, Miami, Baylor, Arizona, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Oregon, Tennessee, Wisconsin, among others. He worked out in front of Garrett Riley and Dabo Sweeney, and he said they really liked him. They liked how he played, his competitiveness, and he said Riley really liked how raw he was and could tell that he really hadn't worked with a lot of quarterback guys before. So think Rodney likes the idea of taking that rawness and molding it himself. So this is one where Clemson, I think at this point, is in pretty good shape early on for a guy in the 2026 class. So he'll let this thing play out for a little while before he makes his decision. Last season he passed for 1,808 yards, 11 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, completed 54%, also rushed for 631 yards, 17 touchdowns. USC missed on running back target Jeffrey Overton Jr., Woodbridge, Virginia. He announced for Virginia Tech today. He also had Virginia and Maryland on his short list. Made his official to USC the first weekend of June. The Gamecocks do not yet have a running back commitment for 2025. They have an offer out to Jaden Jackson of Franklin, Texas. He made an unofficial to USC June 14th. He rushed for 4,500 yards and 65 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. Several other running backs offered by USC this year are off the board. Bo Jackson and Isaiah West committed to Ohio State. Dwayne Morris to Southern Cal. Jamarian Morrow to Missouri. Jamarian Parker to Nebraska. And Zymir Smith to Alabama. One-time USC target offensive guard Jacoby Ward of Savannah will announce on July 6th. He's down to Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. Offensive tackle Nick Moore of Dandridge, Tennessee, who drew some Clemson interest, he committed to Tennessee earlier this month. One-time USC and Clemson target safety Jonte Gilbert will announce on August the 10th. Georgia, NC State, Louisville, UCF, and Georgia Tech, the finalists. In baseball, Campbell transfer infielder Charles Meglio committed to USC. Mentioned this last night. He made CAA all-freshman team this year. Clemson has picked up a commitment for the 25 class. Outfielder Dylan Harrison. He's 6'5", 200 from Fontana, California. He announced a commitment to Clemson tonight. And former Tiger right-hander Billy Barlow is transferring to Florida. There you go with the recruiting report tonight, as always, brought to you by Seawells. Okay, well, we got to hit the break. When we come back from the break, Jeff Owens will join us. Here on Sports Talk, we'll jump into the fast lane, see how fast they're going to go around that Nashville track this weekend. Saw some video on local news here in Chicago a little while ago, how they're already starting to close streets in downtown Chicago as they're building the stands and the viewing spots for the fans for the upcoming street race in Chicago, which will be next weekend. Talk a little bit about that as well. We'll be back. Fast Lane, Jeff Owens.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has introduced a new rolling jackpot, and it's big.
How big? Bigger than a striped bass? Reel 'em in.
Way bigger.
Bigger than this world-class golf course? Or
bigger than that.
Even bigger than the Gaffney Peach?
Let's just say with this new rolling jackpot, Palmetto Cash 5 is officially too big to ignore. Palmetto Cash 5 draws nightly, so play today and check if your numbers are winners in the Players Club app or at seeducationlottery.com. Overall odds are 1 in 10. Top prize odds are 1 in 850,668.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BB ABB5. Don't wait. Order today.
Love it when it's forward, love it when it's fast, love it when the leaders talk, the pack is moving past. Love it when they make you lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these doubles say, boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys. Love it when they're drafting, love it when they slide, love it when the back's straight, the throttle's open wide. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear these doubles say,
Let me hear it, Pat. Let me hear it, Pat. Let me hear it, Pat.
Boys, let's go racing, boys. We're totally in sync. Let's go racing, boys.
In Nashville, in sync. Wasn't that a boy band at one time?
That's
I
us.
think?
That's right.
In
We're bringing
sync.
it back.
Well, with Nashville on our minds, we should be in harmony. We'll see which teams have those engines singing a sweet tune this weekend. Jeff, welcome in. How are you?
Doing great, guys. How are you this weekend?
We're doing fantastic, What about Nashville coming up this weekend? What do you like about this race? What do you like about this track?
Well, I love the market. I love them being in Nashville. I think the sport belongs there. I'm anxious for them to get that old Nashville short track redone and rebuilt so we can go back there. But I think the Nashville Super Speedway has filled in pretty well. The last 3 years, they've had some good racing there. It's about a mile, 1.33 oval, I think, shaped a little bit like Richmond, much bigger, a little bit of banking. So they're going to be going pretty fast. I think pole speed's about 160 miles an hour or so. But yeah, they've had 3 cup races the last few years, and they've all been pretty competitive. So I look for a good show on a pretty fast oval this weekend.
So is it their plan with Nashville to go to that short track you mentioned once whatever work they're doing there, whenever that's done, is that the eventual plan for NASCAR?
Yeah, that's the eventual plan. Speedway Motorsports bought the old Nashville Fairgrounds track a few years ago, and they've been trying to get approval to take that track and basically rebuild it into a new short track. But they have been tangled up for 3 years now in red tape with the city of Nashville. They've been going back and forth with them and can't get certain approvals, and it's just been a slow process for them. So hopefully they'll get all that out of the way and they can start rebuilding that track. I think that was one of the most historic short tracks on the circuit, right up there with Wilkesboro and Martinsville. They ran Nashville for years and years. I think Darrell Waltrip won about every race they had there. But it was a great track, and it would be great to see them go back there, just like we go to Bristol and Martinsville and Richmond. But, it's been a slow go for them. So hopefully they'll get that worked out pretty soon, and we can get another short track on the schedule.
All right, we officially start the second half of the season. This is race number 19, so 18 are in the book. And right now, Kyle Larson leads the playoff race with Denny Hamlin second. Then Joey Logano sits at 16, and he's got a 13-point lead over number 17, Bubba Wallace. What one or two things surprised you the most about the playoff standings through the first half?
Well, I think it's the fact that you got a two-time champion like Logano down there at the bottom, fighting to get his way in. Hasn't won a race yet this year, so I expect that to happen pretty soon. But, yeah, I think he struggled a little bit, and you've had some other big names struggle some too, while your young guys continue to sort of rise to the top. Christopher Bell gets another win last week for him. Denny Hamlin's hanging around. The guy I would keep an eye on, Larson, of course, going to be a favorite, but the guy that's quietly creeping up on everybody a little bit is Chase Elliott. He won a race earlier in the year, but he keeps clicking off top fives and he keeps hanging around. And this is a race where he won at 2 years ago at Nashville. I expect him to keep getting better and better, and I think come playoff time, he's going to be one of the guys to watch.
Kyle Busch, is he going to win a race?
Boy, it sure doesn't look like it the way they're running. I mean, that team is just out to lunch. They made a big move this week. And you know what? I think you almost had to expect this when Kyle went over there. I know he won 3 races last year, but that was early in the year. There were circumstances involved in those, and then he just struggled the whole second half. And Richard Childress Racing is an organization that really has been lagging behind the other elite teams for several years now. And you thought that plugging Kyle Busch in there would raise that organization up, but it hasn't happened. It's had the reverse effect. They've sort of pushed him down, and right now it seems like they can't do anything right. So they made a competition move this week. Hopefully that gets them going, but I think the sport needs Kyle Busch to start winning some races and be there at the top.
Absolutely. I mean, he's just one of those faces, one of those names that's got to be good in this era of top names dropping out for one reason or another. You have a great weekend, my friend. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you next week before we go to the road race in Chicago.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Be right back here on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. We're muggy tonight on low temp dipping to 75. Tomorrow the humidity continues. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, 95 the high. There's a 40% chance we get afternoon showers. Sunday is blazing hot. Very humid, a high again, 95. But the heat index gives us a feels like temp of 113. Famously hot indeed. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Happy birthday, America! At Palmetto State Armory, we love spreading freedom. So coming between June 28th and July 7th to shop our Independence Day deals. Available in-store only. We have discounts on big brands like Springfield, Vortex, Chronos Knives, Columbia Apparel, Hey Dude Footwear, and more. There are also discounts on holsters, triggers, and all t-shirts. Can't make it to the store? Visit us at PalmettoStateArmory.com for even more deals. Palmetto State Armory, always proud to be American-made for life.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a minivan slammed into a Long Island nail salon Friday, killing 4 people and injuring 9, according to a Suffolk County fire official. The vehicle came to a stop inside the Hawaii Nail and Spa store about 4:40 p.m. All of those killed and injured were inside the salon at the time. President Biden is working to quell Democratic anxieties over his unsteady showing in his debate with ex-President Donald Trump. Democratic rules say that the delegates Biden won in state primaries should support him at the party's upcoming national convention unless he tells them he's leaving the race. Biden's performance Thursday has led some in his own party to begin questioning whether he should be replaced on the ballot before November. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 45 points. More details at srnnews.com.
When you've got the gem of the Midlands, Lake Murray, at your disposal, who can blame you for wanting to hit that water now? Marine 360 has been your local home for the nicest crest and sea hunt boats since 2007. Brandon, Scott, and their team, well, they offer expertise, incredible customer service, and a tremendous selection of new and pre-owned boats. Crest is the industry standard. They've been building boats since 1956, the oldest and one of the most respected pontoon builders anywhere. Sea Hunt is built right here in Columbia, the #1 selling center console in its class for 19 straight years. Look, Marine 360 is on the lake. It's a great place when you need your boat service. They're authorized service experts for Yamaha, Mercury, and Suzuki. I know Brandon and Scott. These are good guys. They're local, and they'll be there from start to finish. They can get you into the best boat that fits your dreams and your budget. Take a look online, marine360sc.com, or better yet, give them a call, 749-2360. Go visit the showroom, see their awesome selection, hit the water for a demonstration. If you belong on the water, you belong in a Marine 360 boat.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Do you crave growth for your business? That's where The Point comes in. Fran Halloran here. Kevin Cohen and the other local hosts like me have worked to create a space where listeners transform into family. Are you a local business aiming for the stars? You need to get with Kevin and let him help create an individualized blueprint for your growth using the influential stage of The Point Radio. Reach out directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, make this year extraordinary.
These letters keep coming into Bergen Roofing, and Stuart shares them with me, so I share the stories with you. In this case, two guys are going door to door selling roof repairs. They're stating they can see the problems on your roof from the street. Oh, wrong. Hey, maybe there is a hole up there. Probably not. But I'll say the same thing Bergen has said for years. Use a reputable company. Do not let these door knocking, now you see them, now you don't guys, up on your roof. They could actually puncture your roof just to get your business. It's happened with these fly-by-night scammers. Look, if these guys are any good at all, they wouldn't need to go door to door. Good roofing companies stay busy. They don't solicit door to door. I think folks are getting smarter and smarter, and you need to in order to stop these scammers. If you find yourself in need of a roofer, and Bergen hopes you don't, but if you do, then use a local, trusted company and call Bergen today at 798-ROOF. That's 798-ROOF, or visit them on the web at bergenroofing.com.
It's time for Birdies and Bogeys with George Bryan on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Straight down the middle, it went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee, wee bit. And that's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been found to this day. But it went straight down the middle, like they say.
All right, it is time to talk about the great sport of golf and the sport that drives you crazy, golf. Okay, we all know that. If we try to play it, it just drives you crazy. We welcome in George Bryan III to Sports Talk, as always, to talk some golf with us. George, love the sport, love what you stand for when it comes to golf, love everything about it, but it just drives you crazy. I was playing a match last Sunday. I was just doing, really pretty well, okay? First time playing in a long time. I go to the 18th. I've been hitting my drive. I took the Lou Holtz approach. The Lou Holtz approach was don't worry about hitting it long, just hit it in the fairway, right? The Lou Holtz approach. So I've been doing that, and I get to the 18th, and I'm in good shape to win this match, and I yanked my drive into a ditch on the left side. Anyway, eventually lost the hole by a stroke and lost the match. And that's what I'm talking about, the love of the game, but the frustration that the game, the heartbreak that the game can bring to you at any point in time.
And all I can say is I feel your pain, and it's been there, done that. It's the draw that seems to bring you back also, and complete privilege to mix it up on a Friday evening with you.
Yes. Yes.
And what a nice way to tee it off. And when you got that going, and you just can't wait to get back out. That's the first thing that comes to mind is, now I got to get back out and try it again. I just got to re-tee.
You're right. Going to do it here soon. But let's talk about, I know I have to pull it out of you, but I'm going to pull it out of you. I've already hit the leaderboard once from the Rocket Mortgage Classic up in Detroit. But again, Akshay Bhatia, who seems to be living at the top of the leaderboard every week, he's 13 under. Aaron Ray has caught up with him. 66-65. He's 13 under. Taylor Montgomery and Troy Merritt, 11 under. Eric Van Ruin is 11 under. Those two, Merritt, Van Ruin, each had 64s today. And Cameron Young's at 60 is at 11 under after a 66. Then Eric Cole, Cam Davis, and Joel Dahman, they're at 10 under. And then in a tie for 10th, at 9 under, we got Jake Knapp, Sam Stevens, Neil Shipley, Joe Highsmith, and Wesley Bryan. So a 68 and a 67 for young Wesley. Have you communicated? How's he feeling?
Well, not directly with him. But when you're playing the way he has been, good. However, this entire year has either been kind of what you expressed in terms of frustration, or ecstasy. Now, he finished second in the Dominican, and that was quite a run that he had that week. The way he plays golf, he is subject to ignite and do what he's done this week. And, you know, I have to admit, he's not always that easy to watch, but it is fun. It is a lot of fun. So, and you mentioned some other names, too.
He keeps it fun. He keeps it lighthearted. I saw he put out a tweet. You know, he's tweeting even though he's playing. Of course, this was after his round. I think he was going to be shooting some video down in Georgia, and he was telling his people, hey, I'll be there Monday. I'm going to be busy the next 2 days. So, I mean, that's a good thing he's going to be busy the next 2 days.
Well, he's been a Monday through Friday tour player for a lot of the season, and those kind really have a hard. It's hard to make a living Monday through Friday on the PGA Tour. You get paid on the weekend, so he has made some cuts this year, but he's missed a lot of cuts too, and he gets to work the weekend, and that's a good golf course for him. You mentioned some other players that are a lot of fun, and one that I have heard for probably a couple of years, but Akshay Bahia. And I hear some of the analysts say his name a little different. Maybe maybe it's a different way to pronounce. But in short, I've heard now for the better part of a year and a half that, and I've seen him play in person numerous occasions, but Akshay, he could easily be world's number one in the next few years. He's very, very young, and he loves to have fun, and he's not ultra conservative out there playing this game. That golf course, Old Donald Ross, probably sets up really good for him. But there's another one on the leaderboard. I think he's making his professional debut, and he might be in there right around the number that Wesley, and he played at Ohio State. He was runner-up in the U.S. Amateur, I think. He's a big kid. Throughout the game ball, and he's an amateur, hadn't kept up that much like I should. Help me out, Phil. Take me, and big boy from Ohio State.
Chipley, yeah.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch, too. And that one, I've got to give credit to my wife. She is right beside me, and she probably keeps up with all these names a lot better than I. But this kid's a lot of fun to watch. Look forward to seeing how he does in his debut. I tell you what, he short arms that pitch. He needs to he needs to work on his fastball a little bit, but he's got some golf game. That's a fact.
All right, now I'm going to correct you because you obviously correct me when I butcher a name. You didn't butcher it, but going by his pronunciation on his bio, it's Akshay Bhatia. The T is pronounced.
My wife is saying it right along with you. I appreciate that. Honey Bunny and Phil, but every time that I've been around him, it's Bahia.
Yeah. He is 6'1", 130 pounds. How can he be 130 pounds at the age of 22? Yeah.
I would bet against 130 if he stood on any scale I'm around. I bet it's more like 120.
Really?
I mean, he just pounds it. He just absolutely annihilates that golf ball, too. I don't get it.
He's won over $7 million in his young career. He's only 22. If he stuffed his pockets with the $7 million, he'd probably weigh 150 pounds. What would $7 million weigh in your pocket, you think, if you stuffed your pocket with $7 million? Huh?
That's yet one more thought I've never had in my life, but thank you, Phil Kornblue.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about these sort of things. But he's got 2 career wins, one this year. He's 15th in the FedEx standings, 29th in the world rankings. And you're right, watching him, he whips it. I mean, where does it come from with him?
Well, that's one of the things we have spoken about, and we'll get kind of technical from time to time on our biceps, birdies, bogeys, and biceps segment sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sport. But he uses his body a little bit like that Mini 47, which it's like an exaggerated rubber band that it's a rubber thermal, but his body just acts like a whip, and that's where he gets that ultra speed. And here's what is intriguing. He's a lefty. He plays it left to right effectively. That means, he plays it right to left effectively in a highly effective way with a lot of power. That means he's usually playing a fade. A fade is a lot more predictable. He's exceptionally long playing a fade, and he's fearless, absolutely fearless with a short game that probably, as far as I've seen, it's as good as any of these young players, and the young players are coming out with some special gifts when it comes to the touch around the green. So, Phil, I'm heading up into some mountainous terrain. My wife and I play games with each other. And
now, George, we don't want to hear about the old George Bryan personal life here now.
No, you're going to hear the rated G part, and this is what we've been doing 38 years of marriage. But before, she looked at me today and says, "Hey, guess what? We're going somewhere."
Okay.
And it's golf. It's golf. So we're in the car. We're heading up towards in mountainous terrain. We could lose you, but we're going to go find somewhere to play golf on short notice. It's her idea, and that's a fact. Don't tell anybody. We'll find out.
All right.
We'll find out tonight who's actually listening, but nobody's supposed to know that we're going on a golf rendezvous.
Okay, now I got to throw this at you, and we got you. You sound good, and 38 years together, that's awesome. That's awesome. I could never, George, I know golf is the lifeblood of the Bryan family. I understand that. It's what makes the Bryan family tick. But I could never, ever in a million years play a round of golf with my wife. I mean, somebody would die. I'm not sure which, but there would be a murder. So how do you do it? How do you handle that?
Well, my wife's number one. She's getting quite a chuckle out of you tonight. She doesn't like speakerphone, but that's what I'm doing so I can make sure I watch the bars on the phone. I got her phone in case this one doesn't work. But hey, she is so much fun to play golf with. Usually
I hear her laughing in the background.
Hey, she'll take a swing at it, giggle at it, and she doesn't like to overdo it. So she'll take a swing here or there, and she'll be usually looking on her phone, looking at grandbaby pics, and she more rides in the cart and swings a little bit and looks at a lot of pics on the phone, and she might get out. Depends on where we end up. She hadn't told me where we're going. This is again one of those games that we've been doing for a long time. But she looked at me today and said, "Hey, guess what? We're out." And she also had kind of done a little back work and found out what my schedule was supposed to be tomorrow, and she took care of that too. I've got it better than anybody I've known forever, and I call her my honey bunny. And we're on one of those trips right now. So, hey, if I lose you, I guarantee you'll figure out what to do in my absence. But we're climbing some heavy duty mountains right now and heading north. So
we'll keep your eye on the road. Got a couple things to bounce off of you.
I do too, Phil. Before we lose him, I got one I want to slide in there if we got time.
All right. Well, hang on, everybody. We're going to do that. George, the WSCGA Junior Girls Championship was played and completed yesterday. That's the Women's South Carolina Golf Association Junior Girls Championship. Caroline Hawkins was the winner at 7 under par. They played this down at the beach, and Puggy Blackman is her coach. Do you know her? Do you know her game?
I actually ran into Puggy this week. We got to have him, got to invite him back on the show. My bad. Dropped the ball on that. You asked me if I had a guest, and I drew a blank tonight, and I should have called Puggy. But, yeah, I've seen her play. I saw her last spring, only for a few holes. Unbelievable young talent. And Puggy Blackman is one of the great teachers in our community, but also just in the world. And I can tell you, she can really play. She'll be fun to watch, and she's also very young. I don't think she's of driving age yet.
Huh.
She can drive her golf ball, just not a car, I don't think. I could be wrong about that. I think she's maybe a ninth grader.
Well,
out of Blythewood.
She finished at 7 under, rounds of 71, 68, and 70. She won by 13 shots. So complete domination by her, so congratulations. And then, just want to mention this, SCGA, we've got the Amateur Championship qualifying coming up on Monday. One will be at Oak Hills. Another will be, that's on Monday, and then there's another qualifying round at Ponderosa on July 8th. And then the SCGA Amateur Championship will be on August the 1st. So I guess folks will have a chance to get into that field. George, you giving it any thoughts of getting to Oak Hills or Ponderosa and chasing it around a little bit?
You know, I would love to be out to see how those amateurs, those qualifiers are a lot of fun. And it is just, the South Carolina Amateur is one of the more prestigious events to play in, and it's not easy to do. And I'm not eligible because of my status. I'm a professional, and I've aged out. However, we will talk about those who earn the privilege in. So you have to qualify. Usually, it used to be you could get in shooting 75, 6, or 7. You'll have to shoot probably right around par on those courses you mentioned. And Ponderosa and Oak Hills are certainly two of my favorites. So, that'll be fun to talk about.
My buddy Mike Anthony, the former great high school football coach, I think he plays like 4 days a week at Ponderosa. He makes the ride down there from up in Union County. I think he knows every nook and cranny of Ponderosa. But get this, George, the amateur championship this year is going to be played at the Country Club of Charleston. How about that?
Oh, wow. What a beautiful setting, and truly a championship golf course. And, man, thank you for Country Club of Charleston hosting this event. It's already hosted U.S. Women's Amateur, U.S. Other major USGA events, and probably one of my top 5 courses in the whole world. It is awesome.
Yep.
Great
Pat.
Players, great members, too.
All right, Pat, what you got for George?
Hey, sorry about that. Sorry, I was talking to a caller off air there. So I'm going to shift a little bit here to one of the tours that maybe we don't talk about as much. But something just spectacular happened today, and unprecedented at the U.S. Senior Open. Frank Bensel, a 56-year-old club pro from New York, made back-to-back holes-in-one at the U.S. Open today. It was a first in the 1001 tournament history of the USGA, and believed to be the only time it's happened on any major golf tour. The only other example that I could find was back in 1897, the U.S. mid-amateur, a guy named Donald Bliss, did it in Dallas, acing the 8th and 10th holes. But this was different. This happened today, and just the odds of a player even making 2 aces in the same round, according to this, are 67 million to 1. So my thoughts here is Frank Bensel did that today, but he still missed the cut. So he still shot a combined 9 over, 5 over round 1, 4 over today. But he did that even with back-to-back aces. And I just got to ask you, both of you, your thoughts on that. I've never dreamt of hitting a hole-in-one. I've hit the pin a few times, and then it bounced about 30 feet away, sometimes into the water, unfortunately. But just your thoughts on what kind of accomplishment this is. Just if it's whatever. Any thoughts on that, George?
So are you saying, I haven't looked, I think I looked at his scorecard. Was this on back-to-back holes?
So that's where I'm having a hard time finding, if you go to a PGA Tour event and you click on the scorecard, you can see the actual scorecard itself. I have yet to find an actual scorecard, but this is reading that he did it in back-to-back holes. but I don't know of many courses that have back-to-back par threes, so I don't know if it's actually back-to-back holes or just back-to-back par threes.
Let me look it up while George talks about that. How about that? No matter where he did it, George, having two aces in the same round, that's incredible.
Well, what comes to mind is I will take in a heartbeat 2 hole-in-ones. Who cares if you make the cut? That's so one in 2 hole. That gives you a chance to get the ticket to go to Vegas, because the man ought to be flying right now in the air heading to Vegas. That's where he should be. And nobody will ever even talk about the fact that he missed the cut. Nobody cares. 2 hole-in-ones is unbelievable. And it's, that's a famous, all I can think of is Rhode Island, but it's not that country club. It is in the New England area, and Newport Country Club. I think that's it.
That's right.
And the it could be back-to-back par threes. I've never heard of that. And we're talking about, one in, what'd you say, 67 million?
That's right. 1 in 67 million. And
what's crazy about the game?
It was back-to-back holes, by the way. It was hole 4 and hole 5, so it was back-to-back par threes.
What major championship, George, has back-to-back par threes in it? That's just weird itself.
The U.S. Senior Open, and the players are raving about how much fun they're having on that venue. At least what I've heard. I hadn't watched 36 holes, but I did tune in a little bit yesterday, enough to know that they are enjoying the round of game. It looks beautiful. Any of those old style golf clubs, usually you have the greens and the tees close together, and no mechanization building them back in that day. So they were using hand shovels, mules, plows, that kind of thing, just digging it out of the dirt. And I've never played it, but it's just what I saw on TV. And I hope everybody will tune in just so they can get a slice of that beauty the weekend.
Here's his scorecard so he played the first 3 holes +1. He bogeyed number 4. He parred 1. He parred number 2. Then he comes to the first par 3, and he aced it. And then he goes to the next hole, which is a par 3, and he aces it. Well, there's your back-to-back hole-in-ones, or holes-in-one, I guess you should say. So at that point, he's 3 under par. He went from +1 to -1 to -3. Then he proceeded to go bogey, 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 bogey. So he made the turn at 1 over par. And then he parred the first 2 on the backside. Then he went bogey, bogey, par, and bogey. So he had 3 bogeys on the back, and he finishes at +4, and he misses the cut. So the guy must have a heck of a, I don't know, he probably hit, 8 iron, 9 iron to those par 3s, but otherwise kind of struggled a little bit.
Hey, who cares? After you make that second hole-in-one, you're pretty much toast anyway. All he could think about was getting to the clubhouse and celebrating. And then getting that air ticket, getting that plane ticket on out. And I tell you, that's one of the things. I did a junior golf camp, or was part of the camp this week for the Irmo Chapin Recreation Commission, and something I've been involved in since 1988. And the kids have such an odd but pure perspective. When you say, hey, what do you do with the ball? And they go, well, you hit it in the hole.
Yeah.
And I just think that's what we all ought to try to do. In fact, at the Scramble at Tsunami Bar Sports, we'll be talking more about that. 6-hole chip and putt. And hole-in-ones are much fun, and we've already had numerous take place. We're not even open yet. So one of the things that I believe while we head out to the weekend, might as well aim at it. Our club pro in the U.S. Open, U.S. Senior Open, he's proved you might as well. Why not? So the Scramble will be open by summer's end. We've been doing some work around there. We'll have all the wrinkles ironed out. So it'll be 6 holes, playing less than 10 minutes,
Love it.
With every swing, it's possible to knock that ball in the hole. And what are we trying to do with a golf ball? Oh, that's right. Knock it in the hole in the least number of strokes possible.
Well, his first hole-in-one was 184 yards. The second one was 203 yards. So that's those two par threes, and that's pretty good living on those two holes. But you know what? If I'm going hole-in-one, I'm not going to finish up with 4 straight bogeys. I'm going to figure out a way to finish up with I'm going to get me at least one par coming in. George, we got to wrap it, my friend.
Man, until next week, tee 'em high, have some fun this weekend. Happy 4th, and shoot 'em low.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed it. Brought to you by Tsunami Bar Sports, birdies, bogeys, and biceps. Thank you, Pat, my friend. Great hearing from you. Great job. I'm gone for the next 2 weeks. We'll see you when we get back. Take care.